Welcome to Stuck Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. One of the things you need to do is be visible, and design is really important in your marketing. So today we're going to be talking with Valeria Rodriguez from VR Creative. She's an expert in design. Welcome, Valeria.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk about how important is it to have good design when you're talking about marketing materials?
Well, even if we start from a foundational perspective, it's so important because you're building the visual representation of your brand. When you're not available, when people don't know anything about you, establishing your brand is so important. And having a strong foundation helps to inform your marketing decisions, which of course it's based on data, based on analytics all around, from social media to your all the details and the intricacies of that business's focus, what they do, their expertise. So all around, it's so important to invest in it and to be well informed so that everything makes sense all around how you present yourself in the world with your business.
Okay, so let's talk about what are some of the key components of design?
Absolutely, branding, consistency, making sure everything's cohesive within your branding. You have your logo, you have your brand message, you have your brand story, you have, of course, your color palette, the font, the vibe that you establish for your brand. And it's all informed with market research, sound market research, understanding your competitors, understanding those that inspire your brand, to allow you to stand out in your own lane, and to serve those that you serve. So all of these components are key in design. And even with design, we break it down a little more granular, making sure things are balanced, making sure you use white space, which means more clear space around the design, not letting things be cluttered, making sure you understand basic elements so that when you're investing to hire or bring on a team or hire an agency, or if you want to do it yourself, which a lot of entrepreneurs do, understanding those basics, understanding the principles of design will help you feel more confident in creating and making those decisions in the design space.
Okay, so what sorts of things should people be thinking when they're putting together a logo?
Understanding your target market is one of the biggest things, along with your brand. What's your brand story? Who are you serving? What are you expecting to do with your brand? Especially if it's a product-based business, you want to have solid variations that you can use in packaging, that you can use on social media or printed assets like your retractable banners or handbills / brochures, and things of that nature. Even with a service-based business, the same thing. There's so many variations of logos that should be part of your branding kit, your brand guide. And you should have standards to help you be consistent so it looks professional and represents the professional that you are with your business. And of course, again, your color palette, having solid fonts, and keeping it simple. I feel like, especially in the beginning, we hit the ground running, starting businesses. We have these amazing ideas. And a lot of times we have to take a step back. And with all that research, it's like, okay, what colors make sense in my industry? What colors are more calming or more exciting, depending on what, the experience is with your brand. Making sure the fonts are legible, making sure your color usage isn't so alarming, but it's using colors wisely, so it grabs people's attention and draws them in, and making sure things are balanced all around, from images to illustrations or information that you're providing.
Right. And just because red is a capturing color, it's an attractive color, doesn't necessarily mean it's right for your brand.
Absolutely.
And trying to make sure that your logo isn't too busy. So just
Right.
because you've made this great soap from all these flowers, you don't want to put lots of flowers in your logo. It's just going to be
Right.
confusing.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like I've worked with several entrepreneurs who have created their own brands, those that did, but then they're like, I need everything changed. I needed to match the professional that I am and the expertise that I portrayed through my products or my services, whatever. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, get the bare minimum of what you need for your brand to get started. Like perfection is, what's the phrase? Perfection is the
Oh,
death of
done is
progress.
better than perfect.
Correct. Yes. And you have to meet yourself where you are and really get down to the bare bones. And even if you work with programs like We Power with their Elevate Elevar program or Heydays, they're having small business hackathons now where they provide resources for entrepreneurs to have those basic needs. It's okay to get the help you need and reach out for resources so that you don't have to do it by yourself, but it's okay if if you got it, you
Well,
got
one
it.
of the big mistakes startups make is they think that they have to do it themselves. And honestly, if you're a superb engineer, you may not have that artistic or psychological background to be able to get out of your own way and create a logo that really means something to your invention. That really
Yes.
helps to get a good designer, a good artist who can understand where you're trying to go with your idea, with your company, and
Yeah.
create the colors and the imagery that will tell your ideal customer who you are without you saying a word.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, especially nowadays. There's platforms like Canva, there's platforms like Adobe Express, and there's Fiverr. And in some cases, those are helpful. Sometimes, a lot of business owners, they have a minimalistic aesthetic that they're looking for. So something basic and clean can be found very easily, but then we run into hiccups, and it's things you might not know because it's not your lane of genius. You don't know that creating logos on Canva, you can't trademark because it's technically property of Canva or property of Adobe Express. Fiverr, of course, you can get, your permissions and whatnot and full disclosures from the designer, but even then, are you getting the robust experience you need? Are you actually being heard? And are they understanding your story to properly portray your business? And a lot of business owners get into a space where it's like, maybe the branding they've had has been, their business has been successful, but it still doesn't align completely with their brand story. It doesn't align with the growth that they're working toward and just really getting into. And it's okay to take a step back and do a redesign. It's okay to take a step back and it's like, okay, it's time for an update. Our target market has changed since 10, 12, 15 years ago, 20, 30, 40 plus, however many years. And, to be very real with yourself that it's okay to get a refresh for your brand so you can
And
reinvent
sometimes that's a
your
good
business.
idea, just because you've been doing the same thing for 3 or 4 years and potentially your market has changed. But
Yeah.
this all shows all our viewers that a designer isn't just an artist. They understand intellectual property, they understand the logistics of using marketing materials. So if you're not really willing to go acquire that additional skill set, you need to hire somebody and you get what you pay for. So it's
100%.
worth it to in potential sales to get a good designer.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Valeria Rodriguez from VR Design. We'll put links to you in the comments so people can go find out more from you. And thank you so much.
I
So
appreciate
I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. One of the best things you can do is book a synergy call with me at businessriff.com. And join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.